I am thrilled to introduce a member of Harbor House's drama troupe, Zero Tolerance. I got to meet her this summer at the retreat, and the summer retreat inspired her to write this poem that she's going to share. And in her words, you'll hear connections to all three posters that we've shared: Listen to Women, Only with the S, and How Words Matter. Please listen with an open mind and an open heart. And please join me in welcoming Dani.
There is a point in someone's life where they will feel as if they have no choice but to take action. That was how I felt while preparing for the Voices of Men Breakfast retreat. That was how I felt while watching video after video, while listening to stories and calls to action. This is the poem that surfaced. My reaction to current gender issues. I'm not much for writing poetry, but right now that doesn't matter. My thumbs are tapping at my scratched phone screen because that's the first thing I could grab. I'm writing in my notes app, even though that has always seemed taboo for me. As a writer, certain things need to be understood, and one of those things is that no good stories come from the notes app. My phone is at 4% power, and still I type. Thunder from the raging storm outside rattles the window panes and echoes my anger. I wonder how the amount of water hitting the pavement compares to the amount of tears shed by kids my age, 16. Not old enough to be legally treated as a sex object, but old enough for people to start trying. And when I turn around and shout my age, they can say, "Sorry, I thought you were at least 19. Because in 2 years, catcalls will stop being classified as pedophilia. In 2 years, I will be a legal sex object. In 2 years, people can stop saying sorry, and they can start learn to take a compliment. Yet it doesn't scare me because I'm used to the idea, and that in itself is terrifying. As a writer, I know that I have to speak out. The sound of the keyboard typing is my voice. The more I raise my fingers, the louder the sound gets, the more I want to scream. I have a duty as a writer to share the stories of those who can't speak for themselves. I create personas for feelings. I create conduits for my fear, my anger, my sadness. I use my pens and pencils as needles to stitch up broken souls and write new endings, better endings, endings in which the world is fixed and everyone is happy. And then time passes, and my fingers rebel. My erasers become scalpels and silence and slice the stitches. My right pointer finger and the delete key fall in love because I realize that happy endings don't exist. That this world is screwed up and it can't be stitched back together with stories. And still, I try. And still, I fail. As a writer, certain things need to be understood. And one of those things is that research is necessary and inevitable. So I research. I look up what the victim thinks, what the rapist thinks. I sift through excuse after excuse, from look at what she was wearing to I couldn't control myself to I didn't know what I was doing. I work my way into the heads of monsters and try to understand why. I read stories of victims and I count down the ages like some twisted game of hide and seek. 18, 17, 16, 15, 14. My sister is 14 years old. She's pretty, and I know that my mother fears for her. I know this because I fear for her too. I want to lock her in her room and keep her safe forever because in my mind, all I can think of is her boyfriend or teacher or best friend thinking, ready or not, here I come. My phone is at 2% power. I must type quickly or my spirit will die with the battery. As a writer, certain things must be understood. As a writer who writes about touchy subjects, certain things must be understood. As a writer who writes about abuse, sexual assault, and rape, certain things must be understood and accounted for, because as a writer, I must understand that if I make people uncomfortable, they will lash out. As a writer, I must understand the limits of the human mind and body. As a writer, I must play God with my characters and decide who lives and who dies. And one thing I learned while playing God was this: there is a certain point in which the human brain will shut down and become numb to the situation at hand. There's a certain point in which they will give up and let their mind leave the battle, in which they will pretend their struggle doesn't exist. And I am numb to my inevitable future as a human sex object. 1% battery. I run to the charger, but I already know it's too late. I'm running to a strip of wire and plastic that I plug into my sanity. Too late, phone's dead, sanity's gone, only anger is left. Anger and rage, and I wonder if in the time it took me to plug in my phone and charge its battery to 6%, another girl my age has become 1 in 3. Just another victim to add to the staggering statistics. That sound of the prongs of my charger bending as I forcefully shove it into the outlet, that wasn't a slip of my grip. That wasn't an overreaction. That was me making a final decision to not let myself succumb to the numbness my generation is starting to feel. This is me letting the fire singe the inside of my veins, burn me alive. And I laugh because I know that the fire won't kill me, and I cry because I'm one of the lucky few, without tears in my soul from some other person's inability to differentiate from themselves and mindless beasts. And I scream, not because I'm in pain, but because I'm ready to fight. As a writer, a teenager, a human being, I must make one thing clear. I am not ready to become numb. I am ready and willing to fight. And if anybody wants to fight back, they should be prepared for one hell of a battle.